Tonight, we journey beyond the edge of everything you've ever known, into a place where time itself begins to lose meaning, where distances are so vast that numbers cease to comfort us, and the only thing left is pure, endless wonder. You are about to embark on a voyage through the Milky Way, our home galaxy, a spiral of light and dust and ancient stars that has been spinning slowly for nearly 13 billion years. And you, right now, are exactly where you need to be, safe, warm, and ready to explore something truly beautiful. Before we drift any further into this cosmic journey, if you find comfort in stories like these, in narratives that take you beyond the ordinary world and into the quiet mysteries of space, you can gently support this channel by liking this video. There's no pressure, no urgency. Simply, if it feels right, a small gesture of kindness. And if you find yourself returning to journeys like this, to these long, slow explorations of the universe, subscribing ensures you'll always find your way back. And perhaps, if you wish, sharing where you're listening from. Somewhere out there in the world. In a bedroom, in a car, under the stars themselves. These words have a way of traveling, just like we are traveling now. And so, let us begin. Imagine, if you will, that you are standing in a place you have never been before. It is neither day nor night here. It is simply timeless. Above you, around you, in every direction, the cosmos stretches out in silence. But this is not an empty silence, it is a silence full of presence, full of ancient light, full of stories that have been written in the language of particles and gravity and time itself. The Milky Way is home. It is your galaxy, and it is unlike anything you might have imagined. It is not a uniform disk, not a simple spiral, but rather a complex, dynamic system. A place where billions upon billions of stars exist in relationship with one another, orbiting around a massive, slowly breathing center, moving through space at velocities that would be incomprehensible if we were to truly grasp them. But before we can understand the galaxy as a whole, we must first understand what we are looking at, and perhaps more importantly, we must understand where we are standing as we look. You see, for most of human history, we did not know we lived in a galaxy. We thought the Milky Way was simply a bright band of light stretching across the night sky, a path of milk spilled by the gods, some ancient cultures believed, a river of white light, nothing more. It was only in the 20th century, truly only within the last 100 years, that we understood the truth, that this band of light was not some nearby phenomenon, but rather an entire universe of stars, a gravitationally bound system so vast that light itself takes thousands of years to cross it. And here is where something truly remarkable occurs. When you look up at the Milky Way in the night sky, when you see that cloudy band of light stretching from horizon to horizon, you are not looking at something distant and separate from you. You are looking at your own galaxy from within. You are inside it, part of it, looking out at the spiral arms and dust lanes that surround you. It is like being inside a great wheel, and trying to see the shape of the wheel itself. A perspective that is both humbling and deeply intimate. Slowly, if you allow yourself to settle into this idea, you begin to understand that astronomy is not really about looking outward. It is about looking inward. It is about understanding yourself by understanding your place in the cosmos. It is about recognizing that the atoms that make up your body were formed in the hearts of ancient stars, that the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all of it came from the violent death throes of stellar giants that exploded billions of years ago. And this connection, this deep, essential connection between you and the stars, is what we will explore together tonight. The Milky Way itself is approximately 100,000 light-years across, though recent observations suggest it might be even larger, up to 200,000 light-years in diameter. A light-year is the distance that light travels in 1 year, and light moves at 186,000 miles per second. so you can begin to sense the scale we are discussing. It is almost abstract, almost impossible to truly comprehend. And yet, as we journey around it, you will begin to feel its vastness, not intellectually at first, but emotionally, spiritually. The galaxy contains somewhere between 200 and 400 billion stars. Some estimates suggest even more. Numbers so large that they lose all meaning. If every star were a grain of sand, you would need beaches larger than entire continents just to hold them all. And yet these are merely the stars we can see, or estimate we can see. There are surely countless more that remain hidden from our perception, dark, cold, unremarkable perhaps, but present nonetheless. Our solar system, your home system, the place where Earth orbits a medium-sized yellow star that we call the Sun, resides in a spiral arm of the Milky Way called the Orion Arm, or sometimes the Orion Spur. We are not at the center of the galaxy, not at the edge either, but somewhere in between, in a location that is, in cosmic terms, rather ordinary. And yet, we will discover that this ordinary location contains extraordinary mysteries. The Sun orbits around the galactic center at a speed of approximately 220 kilometers per second. It takes the Sun about 225 to 250 million years to complete one full orbit, a period astronomers call a galactic year, or sometimes a cosmic year, which means that since the Sun formed about 4.6 billion years ago, it has completed only about 20 orbits around the galaxy. Think of that. Only 20 times has our solar system circled the galactic core. Only 20 times has it gone around this great cosmic wheel. And yet, there is something stranger still, something that begins to reveal itself when we pay close attention to the way stars move within our galaxy. And this is where the universe begins to whisper its deepest secrets. When astronomers looked at the way galaxies rotate, they expected to find that stars near the center moved faster than stars near the edge, like a spinning record. Like a spinning galaxy should behave according to the laws of physics as we understood them. But instead, they found something inexplicable. Stars at the edge of the galaxy moved just as fast as stars near the center. The rotation curve was flat. This was impossible. According to everything we knew, there simply was not enough visible matter to create this effect. And yet, the effect was undeniable. And so astronomers concluded something remarkable. There must be matter we cannot see, dark matter, an invisible substance that makes up most of the galaxy's mass, perhaps 90% of the galaxy's mass. And it is this dark matter, this cosmic ghost, that holds everything together, that keeps the stars from flying apart, that shapes the very structure of the universe itself. But what is dark matter? Truly, we still do not know. And perhaps this is where the true beauty lies, in the mystery, in the acknowledgement that despite all of our science, despite all of our technology, the universe still contains profound unknowns, still holds secrets that may take centuries to unravel, and perhaps they will never be fully known. This is the beginning of our journey. This awareness that we are about to explore not just a place, but a mystery. A place where light and darkness dance together, where the visible and invisible are forever intertwined, where time moves differently than we expect, and where every star is a story, and every story is a conversation between the observer and the observed. So settle yourself deeper into wherever you are. Feel the support beneath you. Know that you are safe. And know that as we journey through the Milky Way tonight, you are not traveling alone. Billions of other conscious beings, on billions of other worlds perhaps, are looking up at the same stars, wondering the same questions, feeling the same pull toward understanding, toward connection, toward home. And yet, if we are to truly understand the Milky Way, we must first turn our attention toward the place where all the gravity accumulates, the place where all the structure originates. We must journey toward the very heart of our galaxy, toward the galactic core. Imagine, if you will, that you are traveling through the cosmic dark, moving inward, the stars growing denser around you, the light becoming richer, warmer, more intricate, like moving from the suburbs of a great city toward its bustling center. And as you move closer, you begin to sense something, a presence, a tremendous gravitational pull, something massive, something fundamental, drawing everything toward itself. The galactic core is located approximately 26,000 light-years from us, in the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. And this is why, when you look toward the center of the Milky Way in the night sky, you are looking in that direction, toward Sagittarius, an archer in the zodiac, eternally aimed at the center of existence. What lies at the absolute center of the Milky Way is something that for centuries we could only theorize about, something that seemed almost impossible, too strange to be real. And yet, the evidence slowly accumulated, the observations grew more precise, and eventually, we were forced to accept a truth that fundamentally changed our understanding of the cosmos. At the heart of the Milky Way, at a location called Sagittarius A*, or SGRA*, there exists a supermassive black hole. Now, let us pause here, and let us breathe, because this idea, the idea of a black hole at the center of your galaxy, at the center of your cosmic home, this is both beautiful and somewhat unsettling. And both of those feelings are exactly right. A black hole is not a hole in space, though it is convenient to think of it that way. Rather, it is a region of space-time where gravity has become so intense, so overwhelming, that it has fundamentally warped the fabric of reality itself. It is a place where time moves differently, where light itself cannot escape, where the normal rules of physics seem to dissolve into something stranger, something almost mystical. The supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy has a mass equivalent to approximately 4 million suns. 4 million. Imagine gathering 4 million of our suns together. All that mass, all that gravity, compressed into a region smaller than our solar system. And you begin to sense the intensity of what we are discussing. And yet, this black hole is not pulling the galaxy apart. It is not a threat. It is not a devouring monster waiting to swallow everything. Rather, it is the anchor point, the gravitational center around which the entire galaxy rotates. It is the reason the Milky Way has structure. It is the reason we exist in an organized galaxy rather than in a chaotic cloud of stellar debris. Around this central black hole, orbiting at tremendous velocities, are thousands and thousands of stars. These are some of the brightest, most massive stars in the entire galaxy. They have been dubbed the S-stars, and they move in a cosmic dance that has taken decades to fully understand. As astronomers tracked their motions, year after year, century after century of observations, they were able to calculate the mass at the center. They were able to confirm without any doubt that something enormous, something dense, something impossible by previous standards, was lurking at the galactic heart. And then, in 2020, something extraordinary happened. For the first time in human history, we actually saw the shadow of a black hole, not the black hole itself. The thing itself remains invisible, hidden behind the event horizon, that boundary of no return. But we saw its shadow, the silhouette it casts against the bright matter swirling around it. And the image was strangely beautiful, a dark circle surrounded by a halo of light, like an eye, like the eye of the galaxy itself, looking out, watching, aware. But the core region contains far more than just this central black hole. It is a place of extraordinary violence and energy, a place where stellar collisions occur, where massive stars are being born at a furious rate, where supernovae explode, where radiation pours out into space. And yet, despite all of this chaos, despite all of this energy, the center of the galaxy remains a mystery to us. We cannot see it directly, because the core is shrouded in vast clouds of dust, thick clouds that absorb visible light. Clouds that have hidden the galactic center from our eyes since the beginning of human civilization. It was only when we developed the technology to see in infrared, to see heat and radiation that our eyes cannot perceive, that we were able to pierce the veil and begin to understand what lies at the heart of everything. And this, too, is a lesson about the universe, that the deepest truths are often hidden, often invisible, often beyond the range of our natural senses, and that understanding requires patience, requires technology, requires imagination, requires the willingness to look beyond what we can easily see. As you move with us in imagination toward the core, you might sense the temperature rising, the radiation increasing, the space becoming more warped, more peculiar, the laws of physics becoming strained. Gravity no longer obeying the simple rules you learned in school, but rather becoming something more complex, more nuanced, more alien. And somewhere in this intense region, in this heart of the galaxy, there are likely planets, there are likely worlds, and perhaps on some of those worlds, there are conscious beings, creatures who look up at their own night sky and see the galactic core not as we see it, as a distant mystery, but as a nearby presence, a bright region filling the sky, a constant reminder of the massive forces that shape their world. What would it be like to live so close to a black hole, to feel the warping of space-time itself, to see relativity not as an abstract theory, but as a daily reality, to watch time flow differently in different places, to see the very structure of reality bent and twisted by gravity? It is difficult to imagine. And yet, somewhere in the universe, it may be exactly what is happening. But we cannot stay here, at the core. The radiation would overwhelm us. That gravity would pull us apart. This is a place too extreme for human consciousness to remain, and so we must venture back toward the regions where stars are more scattered, where the universe becomes more comprehensible, where we can float and observe and learn. As we withdraw from the core, we begin to see the larger structure of the galaxy revealing itself. We begin to see the great spiral arms unfurling outward, like the arms of a dancer, like the tentacles of some vast cosmic octopus, reaching out into the void. And it is these spiral arms that we will explore in the journeys to come, as we pull back from the intense heat of the galactic core, as the radiation diminishes and the gravity loosens its grip. Something begins to emerge from the cosmic darkness, something that speaks to a deep aesthetic sense within us, something that suggests not chaos, but organization, not randomness, but pattern, not meaningless void, but architecture. The Milky Way is a spiral galaxy, and this spiral structure is one of the most beautiful and mysterious aspects of its existence. When we observe spiral galaxies through our telescopes, when we see them from the outside, when we view them as distant islands of light in the cosmic ocean, they appear almost delicate, almost fragile, as if they were carefully painted by some cosmic artist, as if each spiral arm were drawn with infinite care. But what creates this spiral, this elegant pattern, this organization of stars and gas and dark matter, is a question that has puzzled astronomers for a long time. You see, if the galaxy were simply rotating, if it were simply spinning like a phonograph record, then the spiral arms should wind up. They should wrap tighter and tighter around the center. Until they disappeared completely, they should be torn apart by the differential rotation. And yet, they persist. They have maintained their structure, their integrity, for billions of years. And so the mystery deepens, and the answer, when we discovered it, was surprisingly elegant. The spiral arms are not made of a fixed set of stars. Rather, they are patterns, density waves, like traffic waves on a highway, where all the cars are slowing down and speeding up together, creating the appearance of a traffic jam that moves backward, even though most of the cars are moving forward. The spiral arms of the galaxy work similarly. They are regions of higher density, places where stars and gas and dust are slightly more concentrated, and as the galaxy rotates, individual stars pass through these density waves. Just as individual cars pass through a traffic jam, the pattern persists, even though the individual components are constantly changing. When a star passes through a spiral arm, when it moves through this region of higher density, interesting things happen. The pressure increases. The gravitational forces from nearby stars intensify, and this often triggers the collapse of gas clouds, leading to the birth of new stars. And this is why, when we observe spiral galaxies, we see that the spiral arms are lit up with young, bright blue stars, stars that have only recently ignited, that are still burning intensely, still shining with the vigor of youth, and scattered among them are nebulae, great clouds of glowing gas, regions where the process of star birth is currently taking place, where new worlds are being born even as we speak. Our solar system, your home, is currently located between two spiral arms in what is called the Orion Arm or the local spur, a smaller, less defined arm than the great major arms of the galaxy, and this location has consequences. It means that you live in a region that is somewhat calmer, somewhat less chaotic than the regions deep within the major spiral arms. It is perhaps a more stable place to evolve, to develop, to cultivate consciousness, and perhaps, this is no accident, perhaps, all intelligent life in the galaxy lives in the quieter regions, between the grand spiral arms, where conditions allow for long-term stability, for the billions of years required for consciousness to emerge. But let us imagine moving toward one of the great spiral arms now, moving into a region of density and creation. As we approach, the stars grow denser, the nebulae become more prominent. The sense of cosmic activity becomes almost palpable. Imagine witnessing the birth of a star, truly witnessing it, not through the lens of scientific instruments, but through the experience of floating in space, surrounded by vast clouds of gas and dust, watching as gravity pulls these particles together, watching as temperatures rise, as pressure increases, as the material begins to glow, first a dim red, then brightening, warming, until finally, after perhaps millions of years, the temperature at the core becomes hot enough for nuclear fusion to ignite. And suddenly, a new sun bursts into being, a new point of light, a new source of warmth and energy, spreading radiation out into the surrounding darkness. This process is happening all around the galaxy, constantly, relentlessly, at this very moment. As you are listening to these words, stars are being born, stars are dying, nebulae are collapsing, supernovae are exploding. The galaxy is not a static place. It is a living, breathing, dynamic system, constantly creating, constantly destroying, constantly transforming. And we and all life are part of this process. We are products of this eternal cycle. Our atoms have been through this process. They have been created in stellar furnaces. They have been scattered across space in great explosions. They have been gathered together into new stars, new planets, and eventually, into living beings like you, like us, like all conscious creatures that have ever existed. This is the deep connection that ties us to the spiral arms, to the stars, to the galaxies, to the universe itself. We are not separate from it. We are expressions of it. We are the universe becoming conscious of itself, experiencing itself, knowing itself. The major spiral arms of the Milky Way have names given to them by human astronomers: the Sagittarius Arm, the Carina Arm, the Cygnus Arm, the Perseus Arm. Each of these great structures stretches thousands of light years across the galaxy. Each one contains billions of stars. Each one is a world unto itself. And yet they are all part of one unified system, one great galaxy, one home. The Perseus Arm is one of the most prominent, one of the most brilliant when we look in that direction. We see some of the most intense stellar activity in the galaxy. We see massive stars, brilliant and blue and short-lived. We see tremendous nebulae, glowing with the light of newborn stars. We see dark dust lanes weaving through the bright regions, creating patterns of light and shadow, creating a visual symphony of cosmic creativity. And in the Cygnus region, a region of the Cygnus arm that lies in the direction of the constellation Cygnus, there exists one of the most active regions of star formation in the entire Milky Way, a place called the Cygnus X complex, a vast region of dense molecular clouds extending thousands of light years, where star birth is occurring at a tremendous rate, where new stars are being born almost continuously. It is as if the universe is deliberately concentrating creative energy in certain regions, as if some regions of space are more fertile, more generative, more alive than others. And perhaps they are. Perhaps the universe does not distribute its creative energy uniformly. Perhaps certain regions, certain densities, certain configurations of matter and gravity are more conducive to the emergence of stars, of planets, of life. And perhaps this is why life is where it is. Perhaps consciousness is drawn to these fertile regions, just as water flows downhill, just as life springs up wherever there is warmth and moisture and light. As we float through the spiral arms in our imagination, moving slowly, observing carefully, we begin to understand that the Milky Way is not a monolithic place, not a uniform system, but rather a rich tapestry of different regions, different conditions, different ages, different futures. Some regions are full of young stars, vibrant and bright. Other regions contain older stars, red and dim, approaching the end of their lives. And still other regions are shrouded in darkness, filled with cold, dead stars, or empty space waiting to be filled. It is time now to continue our journey, to move toward one of these regions in particular, to explore a specific arm, a specific neighborhood in our galactic home, and to discover what wonders await us there. Let us now imagine moving outward from our current position, moving away from the warm, crowded regions closer to the galactic center, moving toward the edge of the galaxy, where the stars grow fewer and farther between, where the light becomes dimmer, where the silence becomes deeper. It is a journey that takes us through an increasingly sparse cosmic landscape, a landscape where time seems to move more slowly, where the universe reveals different secrets. The outer regions of the Milky Way have long been sources of fascination and mystery, because as we move outward, as we venture toward the edge of the galactic disk, the stars become less dense, the galaxy's structure becomes less defined, and eventually, we reach regions that are almost empty, places where a star might be surrounded by millions of light years of emptiness, places that exist in a kind of cosmic silence that is almost unbearable to contemplate. But even in these outer regions, even in these spaces that seem empty and desolate, there is a presence. That presence is dark matter, the invisible substance that makes up the vast majority of the galaxy's mass. And as we move outward, this dark matter becomes more prominent, more significant, more noticeable in its effects on the structure of space. Imagine, if you will, that you are moving through a region where the nearest star is so far away that its light has not yet reached you, even though it started its journey before human civilization began. Imagine the loneliness of such a place, the isolation, and yet know that you are not truly alone. That dark matter surrounds you, invisible but present, warping spacetime, curving light, holding the galaxy together. Around the outer reaches of the Milky Way, there are regions that are particularly interesting, regions that suggest a recent catastrophe, or perhaps an ongoing collision. And this is because the Milky Way is not a solitary island of stars. It has companions, neighboring galaxies that have been interacting with it, dancing around it, occasionally colliding with it, for billions of years. The Sagittarius dwarf elliptical galaxy is one such companion, a smaller galaxy that has been orbiting the Milky Way, and in recent cosmic times, in the last few billion years, it has begun to merge with us. Its stars are being stripped away by the Milky Way's gravity. They are being incorporated into the larger system, and this process will continue for billions of years into the future, until the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy is completely absorbed, completely merged, its identity lost to the larger whole. And this is a reminder of something beautiful and terrible about the universe, that everything is in motion, that nothing is permanent, that even galaxies are not immune to change, to transformation, to being unmade and remade in new forms. And yet, there is a kind of beauty in this, a kind of poetry in the idea that galaxies can merge, can combine, can create something new. In perhaps 4.5 billion years, a collision that is already beginning will reach its apex when the Andromeda Galaxy, our closest large galactic neighbor, will collide with the Milky Way. The two galaxies will pass through one another. Their stars will be scattered by gravitational encounters. The two systems will merge, and a new galaxy will be born, a larger galaxy, combining the stars and structure and history of both the Milky Way and Andromeda. It will be a process that takes billions of years, that unfolds in slow motion on the cosmic scale, but it is inevitable. It is coming, and perhaps intelligent life in this region of space will be there to witness it, to experience the transformation. But this is far in the future, and we are living now, in this epoch, in this era where the Milky Way is still mostly intact, still maintaining its spiral structure, still recognizable as the galaxy that has been home to humanity for our entire existence. As we continue to move outward beyond the main disk of stars, we begin to enter a region that is even stranger, even more mysterious. We enter the realm of the galactic halo. The halo is a spherical region surrounding the galaxy, extending far beyond the visible disk, extending perhaps even to 200,000 or 300,000 light years from the center, a distance that is almost incomprehensible. And within this halo, there are globular clusters, ancient collections of stars, some of the oldest stars in the entire galaxy, stars that have been orbiting the galactic center for more than 10 billion years, surviving everything, persisting through every change that the universe has thrown at them. These globular clusters are like time machines, like windows into the past, because the stars within them are ancient. They contain heavy elements that formed in earlier generations of stars, and their chemical composition tells us stories about the early history of the Milky Way, about conditions that existed when the galaxy was young, when it was still being shaped, still being formed. Imagine floating within one of these globular clusters. Imagine being surrounded by hundreds of thousands of ancient stars, stars that are so close together, that are packed into such a dense region that the night sky would not be dark. It would be illuminated, filled with starlight. Imagine the sky itself being bright, glowing with the light of countless suns. And imagine that you are experiencing this light that has traveled for billions of years, light that was emitted when the universe was young, when the Milky Way itself was young. There is a timelessness to these clusters, a sense of permanence, and yet they too are changing, slowly, imperceptibly. They too are being torn apart by the tidal forces of the galaxy. Their stars are being stripped away, gradually, over billions of years. They are being dispersed into the larger galactic halo, becoming part of the smooth background of stars that surrounds the main disk, and beyond even the globular clusters, beyond even the halo, there is the Oort cloud, a theoretical region of comets and icy bodies, extending perhaps even a light year or more from the sun, a vast spherical shell of frozen objects, remnants from the early formation of the solar system, occasionally disturbed, occasionally sending a comet or asteroid tumbling inward toward the inner solar system, reminding us that even our local neighborhood, even the region's closest home, contain vast reservoirs of material, vast regions that we do not yet fully understand. The outer reaches of the galaxy are places of mystery and wonder, places where the familiar universe begins to give way to something more alien, something more strange. And yet, it is to these regions that we must now turn our attention, for it is in understanding the outer galaxy that we understand the galaxy as a whole. It is in contemplating these distant regions that we begin to grasp the true scale and scope of our cosmic home. And now, let us shift our perspective slightly. Let us move from observing the grand structure of the galaxy, the spiral arms and the core and the outer reaches, and instead, let us focus on the smaller scale, on the neighborhoods, on the local regions where individual stars cluster together, connected by history, by common origin, by the threads of gravity and time. Every star in the galaxy is part of a stellar association or cluster of some kind, or at least it was at one time. Stars are born together in the collapse of vast molecular clouds, and for a time they remain together, orbiting as a group, connected by mutual gravity, but gradually over millions of years. These associations disperse, the stars drift apart, each one following its own path through the galaxy. And yet, they retain a memory of their common origin, a memory encoded in their chemical composition, in their age, in their velocity through space. Our Sun is part of one such association, a loose group of stars called the local bubble, or sometimes the Gould's belt, a region of relatively young stars, located on the edge of a supernova remnant, a region that was cleared out by the explosion of one or more massive stars billions of years ago. And the Sun and its siblings were born in the shock waves from those explosions, created by the death of stars that came before, just as we ourselves are made from the ashes of even older stars. Closest to us, closest to the Sun and the Earth, there are stars that are our neighbors in cosmic terms, though even our closest stellar neighbor, Proxima Centauri, is a distance of more than 4 light years away, meaning that light from that star takes 4 years to reach us, meaning that when you look at Proxima Centauri in the night sky, you are seeing not where it is now, but where it was 4 years ago in a very real sense. Looking at distant stars is a form of time travel, but beyond Proxima Centauri, beyond the immediate neighborhood of the Sun, there are other clusters, other regions of stellar activity. One of the most famous is the Pleiades, a young open cluster of stars, visible to the naked eye in the night sky, a cluster that has been known to human cultures for thousands of years, in many cultures. The Pleiades holds deep cultural and spiritual significance, and when you look at the Pleiades, when you see that small cluster of blue stars, you are looking at a family of stars that are actually traveling together through space, moving as a unit, even though they appear to be separated when viewed from Earth. The Pleiades are approximately 440 light-years away, and the stars within the cluster are perhaps 1 light-year apart on average, which means they are very close together on astronomical scales, and they are young, only about 100 million years old. In cosmic terms, they are infants, and they will not remain bound together forever. Gradually, over tens of millions of years, they will drift apart, and eventually, 1 or 2 at a time, they will leave the cluster and begin their independent journeys through the galaxy. Imagine being part of such a cluster. Imagine being a star surrounded by other young stars, all burning brightly, all shining with the vigor of youth, all sharing the same cosmic neighborhood. What would it be like to eventually drift away from this family, to slowly separate, to venture out into the larger galaxy, to gradually lose sight of the companions of your youth? It is a poignant thought, even when we think of it in terms of stars, even when we remove human emotion. There is a kind of tragedy and beauty in this process. And yet, there is more to the stellar neighborhoods than simple clusters. There is an intricate web of relationships. an interconnectedness that spans the entire galaxy. When we look at the composition of different stars, when we analyze the ratios of heavy elements, when we study the abundances of iron and carbon and oxygen and all the other elements that make up the universe, we begin to see patterns. We begin to see genealogies. We begin to understand that stars are related to one another in ways that are not immediately apparent. An old star with few heavy elements likely formed early in the galaxy's history, when the galaxy contained only the hydrogen and helium that were created in the Big Bang, and perhaps some small amounts of heavier elements created in earlier stellar generations. A young star with many heavy elements likely formed more recently, after many stellar generations had come and gone, after many supernovae had enriched the galaxy with the heavier elements. And this means that we can read the history of the galaxy in the composition of its stars. We can see how the galaxy has evolved, how it has become more complex, more enriched, over billions of years. And perhaps most remarkably, by studying the abundances of different elements, by analyzing the light from distant stars, we can determine not just how old they are, but also where they came from, which clouds of gas and dust gave birth to them, which regions of the galaxy they originated from. It is as if the stars carry passport information in their chemistry, information that tells us about their travels, about their history, about where they have been and where they are going. This is where the universe becomes truly intimate. When we understand that every star is connected to every other star, that we can trace genealogies, can understand relationships, can see the vast network of causality and history that stretches across billions of years and billions of stars. And it is the same with our own star, with the Sun. We can determine that the Sun is part of a population of stars called population I stars, young stars, rich in heavy elements, stars that could not have existed in the early universe, stars that required the death and rebirth of earlier stellar generations to come into being. And we can estimate that the Sun's nearest siblings, the stars that were born in the same molecular cloud, are now scattered across large distances, separated by hundreds of light years perhaps, but still traveling through space at similar velocities, still preserving the memory of their common origin. And occasionally, once every million years or so, one of these old siblings passes very close to our solar system, close enough that its gravity might perturb the Oort cloud, might send a comet tumbling inward, and in those rare moments, in those rare events, we feel the influence of the Sun's long-lost family. We experience the presence of cosmic kinship across the vast distances of space. As we contemplate these stellar neighborhoods, as we understand the complex web of relationships that connects all stars, we begin to see the galaxy not as a collection of isolated points of light, but as a single, unified, interconnected system. A system that is deeply coherent, deeply organized, despite its apparent vastness and complexity. And this brings us to one of the deepest insights about the Milky Way and about the universe in general, which is that complexity and unity are not opposites, that a system can contain billions of components and yet still be fundamentally interconnected, still be fundamentally one. But there is another aspect of the Milky Way that we have so far only touched upon lightly, an aspect that is equally important, equally fascinating, equally deserving of our contemplation, and that is the dust. You see, the galaxy is not simply composed of stars and dark matter. It is also filled with vast quantities of dust, tiny particles smaller than the width of a human hair, particles composed of carbon and silicates and ice, particles that have been scattered throughout the galaxy by the deaths of stars, by supernova explosions, by the winds from massive young stars. And these particles, while individually insignificant, collectively have a profound effect on the structure and appearance of the galaxy. When we look at the Milky Way, when we see that band of light stretching across the night sky, we do not see the entire galaxy. What we see is the bright region where stars are densest. But the dust lanes, the dark regions. The areas that appear empty or nearly empty are not actually empty. They are filled with dust. Dust so thick, so dense, that it blocks the light from the stars behind it, and in this way, the dust reshapes our perception of the galaxy. It hides from us the truth that lies beyond. It presents us with a filtered, partially obscured view of cosmic reality. But the dust is not a hindrance. It is not something to be regretted, because the dust is also where new stars are born. The dust clouds, the nebulae. These are the stellar nurseries where gravity is slowly gathering the particles together, where temperatures are rising, where the process of star formation is beginning. Imagine drifting through one of these vast dust clouds, moving slowly through a region where visibility is just a few light years, surrounded by obscuring particles, unable to see the stars that are being born in the regions nearby, unable to see the structure of the galaxy beyond. It would be like being inside a cosmic fog, a cosmic cloud, and yet you would know that around you, within this fog, tremendous things are happening. Stars are being born, planets are beginning to form, and perhaps, on some of those planets, the conditions for life are being established. The famous Orion Nebula, a region that you can see even with the naked eye in the night sky, is one such stellar nursery. A vast cloud of gas and dust, approximately 1,500 light-years away, containing hundreds of young stars, all recently born, all still surrounded by the remnants of the cloud from which they formed. The Orion Nebula glows with light. It appears reddish or pinkish in photographs, because that light is being emitted by hydrogen gas, gas that is being energized by the radiation from the young stars embedded within it. When we look at images of the Orion Nebula, when we see that intricate tapestry of glowing gas and dark dust, we are looking at the process of creation in action. We are watching, in frozen moment, the birth of stars and planets, the formation of new worlds, new homes, new places where life might someday emerge. And this process is not unique to the Orion Nebula. It is happening throughout the Milky Way, in the Carina Nebula, in the Eta Carini region, in the Cygnus X complex, in nebulae so numerous and so vast that we have only barely begun to map them, to understand them, to appreciate their significance. The dust clouds also create a kind of time lag in our understanding of the galaxy. You see, when a star dies, when it explodes as a supernova, it creates a shock wave that races outward through space, spreading the new elements created in the star's core, spreading the ashes of the star across a region thousands of light-years wide. And these ashes, this enriched material, gradually mixes with the existing dust clouds, enriching them, making them more chemically complex, more suited to the formation of planets, of life. But this process takes time, millions of years, tens of millions of years. And so, when we look at the galaxy today, when we observe the current generation of stars and planets, we are observing a snapshot of a process that is still unfolding, a process that began billions of years ago and will continue for billions of years into the future. In a very real sense, we are living in the aftermath of ancient catastrophes. We are living in a universe that has been shaped by the deaths of stars that exploded before the sun was even born, before the earth was even formed. And we are also living in the moment before future catastrophes, before stars that are alive today will eventually die, before the universe will again be transformed by stellar deaths and stellar births. The dust lanes themselves, when observed in visible light, create patterns in the galaxy, creating the appearance of roads, of pathways, of directions in some cultures. People have given names to these dust lanes. They have imagined them as forming shapes, as telling stories. But from the outside, from the perspective of an observer looking at a spiral galaxy from a distance, the dust lanes reveal the true structure of the galaxy. They outline the spiral arms, They show where the density waves are greatest, where the new stars are being born, where the galaxy is most active, most alive. And this brings us to another profound insight, which is that darkness and obscurity are not the opposites of knowledge and understanding. Rather, they are often the keys to deeper understanding. The dust that hides the stars also creates the nurseries where new stars are born. The regions of darkness are often the regions of greatest creation, of greatest potential, of greatest future possibility. It is perhaps fitting that as we journey through the galaxy, we spend time contemplating not just the light, but also the darkness, not just the visible, but also the hidden, not just what we can easily understand, but also what requires patience and deep observation to finally comprehend. And as we continue our journey, as we move toward the end of our exploration, let us carry this lesson with us. Let us remember that the universe is richer, more complex, more beautiful when we take the time to understand not just what we see, but also what lies beneath, what is hidden, what is revealed only through patient observation and deep contemplation. And now, as we continue to circle the galaxy, as we have traveled from the intense heat of the core, through the spiral arms, into the outer reaches, and through the dust-filled regions of star birth, let us turn our attention to something that brings all of this together, something that integrates all of these cosmic structures into a single unified question. And that question is, where is life in this vast system? Where do conscious beings exist in the Milky Way? And what does it mean to be a conscious creature living within such an enormous cosmos? For most of human history, we believe that Earth was the center of everything, that the sun orbited us, that the stars existed for our benefit, and that we were somehow special, somehow chosen, somehow unique in all of creation. It was a comforting belief, but it was also fundamentally wrong. And when that belief was challenged, when we were forced to accept that we live on an ordinary planet, orbiting an ordinary star, in an ordinary region of an ordinary galaxy, something changed in us. Something shifted in our sense of self, our sense of purpose. And yet, perhaps, there is a deeper truth that this realization revealed, a truth that is not diminishing, but rather empowering, the truth that we are expressions of the universe itself, that the matter that makes up our bodies was created in the cores of ancient stars, that the carbon in our DNA was forged in stellar furnaces billions of years ago, that we are not separate from the cosmos, but rather we are the cosmos becoming conscious of itself. On this planet, on Earth, life emerged sometime between 3 and 4 billion years ago, as far as we can determine, in the oceans, in the warm, shallow waters, or perhaps deep beneath the surface, around hydrothermal vents. Life emerged in the form of simple organisms, bacteria, single-celled creatures. And from that beginning, from that first flickering of consciousness, life diversified, multiplied, spread across the planet, filled every niche, colonized every environment, and eventually evolved into the astonishing variety of life that exists today. From the tiniest insects to the largest whales, from the deepest ocean trenches to the highest mountains, life has spread everywhere that conditions allow. And then, approximately 300,000 years ago, a new form of life emerged on this planet, a form of life characterized by heightened consciousness, by the ability to think about thinking, to contemplate existence, to wonder about the stars. We call this form of life human, and it is distinguished not by physical prowess, not by strength or speed, but by the ability to create meaning, to tell stories, to understand patterns, to use language, to pass knowledge from one generation to the next. For most of human history, for nearly all of our existence as a species, we were confined to this single planet. We looked up at the stars and wondered, but we could not reach them. We could not explore them. We could only imagine them, tell stories about them, create myths and legends, But in the last 100 years, in the blink of an eye in cosmic terms, we have developed technology that allows us to see farther, understand deeper, explore beyond the boundaries of our world. And this has fundamentally changed what we know about our place in the cosmos. And this brings us to one of the most profound questions that any conscious being can ask. Are we alone? Is life unique to Earth? Is consciousness unique to humans? Or does life exist elsewhere in the galaxy, in the universe? Does consciousness arise whenever conditions allow? Does consciousness fill the cosmos like stars fill the night sky? We do not know the answer to this question, not yet, and perhaps we may never know with absolute certainty, but we can reason about it. We can think about the probability. We can consider the vast numbers that are involved. Consider this. The Milky Way contains at minimum 200 billion stars, but more likely closer to 400 billion. And recent observations suggest that most stars have planets orbiting them. Multiple planets, Earth-sized planets, potentially habitable planets. If we assume that even a small fraction of 1% of these planets are actually inhabited, if we assume that life is even slightly more common than a random cosmic accident, then the numbers suggest that the galaxy could contain billions of habitable worlds, billions of planets where water exists, where conditions are right for the emergence of life. And if life has even a modest probability of emerging on a habitable world, then the galaxy could be teeming with life, filled with countless species, countless civilizations, countless conscious beings asking themselves the same question we are asking, wondering if they are alone. And yet, we have never detected a signal from this supposed multitude of worlds. We have never found definitive evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. And this paradox, the paradox between the vast probability of life existing and our complete failure to detect it, is known as the Fermi paradox. And it has fascinated scientists and philosophers for decades. There are many possible explanations. Perhaps intelligent life is extremely rare. Perhaps most civilizations destroy themselves. Perhaps the distances involved are so vast that communication is effectively impossible. Perhaps intelligence emerges, but is short-lived. Perhaps civilizations tend to withdraw from the cosmos and focus on their own worlds. Or perhaps, most tantalizing of all, civilizations do exist, but they are intentionally remaining silent, waiting for us to reach a certain level of development, or simply observing, studying, learning. But regardless of whether life exists elsewhere in the galaxy, what we can say with certainty is that here on this world, life has emerged, consciousness has emerged, and we are the means by which the universe understands itself. We are the galaxy becoming aware of its own existence, contemplating its own structure, questioning its own origin. And this is perhaps the most beautiful thing about existing in the Milky Way at this particular moment. At this particular point in cosmic history, we are here. We are alive. We are conscious, and we can think about these questions. We can wonder about the cosmos. We can feel a sense of connection to the stars from which we came. As we journey around the galaxy, as we contemplate its vast expanse, we are also, in a very real sense, a galaxy contemplating itself. We are not observers standing outside of nature. We are part of nature, deeply embedded within it, inseparable from it, and our consciousness, our ability to think and wonder and love, is a natural outgrowth of the cosmic structures and forces that have shaped the universe for billions of years. And this realization, this understanding, can fill us with a sense of peace, a sense of belonging, a sense that even though we are small, even though we are temporary, even though the universe is vast and we occupy only a tiny corner of it, we are still somehow essential, still somehow important, still somehow connected to everything and everyone who has ever looked up at the night sky and wondered. And so, at last, we have traveled the full circle. We have journeyed from the galactic core toward the outer reaches. We have explored the spiral arms. We have contemplated the stellar neighborhoods, the dust clouds where stars are born. And we have reflected on the place of consciousness, of life, of meaning in this vast cosmic system. And now, as our journey nears its end, we find ourselves returning toward where we began, returning to the moment of stillness and presence from which we started. The Milky Way, we have discovered, is not simply a collection of disconnected stars scattered randomly through space. It is a system of profound unity and organization. It is a dance of gravity and light and time, choreographed not by any conscious director, but by the laws of physics, acting upon vast quantities of matter and energy over billions of years. And yet, the result of this dance, the beauty that emerges, is so intricate, so elegant, so seemingly intentional, that it is hard to imagine it arose by pure chance. And perhaps there is a lesson in this. Perhaps the universe does not require a conscious designer to produce design. Perhaps the laws of nature themselves are sufficient. Perhaps the universe is, in essence, a creative force, a creative process, constantly generating new patterns, new structures, new possibilities. And in our own consciousness, in our own creativity, in our own ability to imagine and dream and create meaning, we are participating in this universal process. As you lie there, wherever you are, in your bed or chair or on the ground beneath the stars, know that you are part of this galaxy, that you are made of stardust, that your consciousness is an expression of the universe's own consciousness, and that when you look up at the night sky, when you see the Milky Way stretching across the heavens, you are looking at your home, your true home, the vast system of matter and energy within which all of your existence has unfolded. The journey around the galaxy, the journey we have taken together tonight, is a journey that has unfolded in your imagination. But it is also, in a very real sense, a journey that you are always taking. You are always moving through space. Your solar system is always orbiting around the galactic core. Your planet is always rotating. Your cells are always rearranging their molecules. Everything is always in motion. Everything is always changing. The only constant is change itself. And yet, amidst all of this change, there is also a kind of eternal return. The sun will continue to orbit the galactic core, just as it has for the last 4.6 billion years. The spiral arms will continue to rotate, though so slowly that a complete rotation takes hundreds of millions of years. The galaxy will continue to evolve, to grow, to incorporate new material, and eventually to collide with Andromeda. And life, conscious life, will continue to emerge, to develop, to spread. If we do not destroy ourselves, if we continue to look upward, if we continue to wonder, there is a rhythm to the cosmos, a rhythm that is far slower than the rhythms of human life, but a rhythm nonetheless, a rhythm of birth and death, of creation and destruction, of organization and entropy. And yet, within this rhythm, within this dance, there is profound meaning, profound purpose. Not purpose imposed from outside, but purpose that emerges naturally from the interaction of matter and energy in time. And as you settle more deeply into rest, as you allow your mind to drift, allow yourself to contemplate the eternal spiral, the great wheel of the galaxy turning slowly through the cosmic night, carrying you and everything you have ever known, everything you have ever loved, everything you have ever feared, and everything you will ever be into the distant future, into the deep mystery that is yet to come. The atoms that make up your body were created in ancient stars. The carbon in your cells, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all of these elements were forged in the cores of massive stars that lived and died billions of years ago. You are, quite literally, composed of stardust. And this is not poetry. This is science. This is fact. And it is more beautiful than any fiction could be. When you breathe, you are inhaling atoms that have been cycling through the Earth's atmosphere for billions of years. Some of the oxygen molecules you breathe may have been breathed by dinosaurs, by ancient humans, by the earliest living creatures. You are connected to all life that has ever existed on this planet through the simple act of breathing. And when you look at another person, when you look into their eyes, know that you are looking at a fellow expression of the universe, a fellow particle of consciousness, a fellow traveler on this long journey through space and time. And whatever conflicts or differences may seem to divide you, whatever circumstances may appear to separate you, you are united by a much deeper connection, a connection that transcends time and space, a connection to the same stars, the same atoms, the same cosmic origin. This is the gift that comes from understanding our place in the cosmos. This is the peace that comes from recognizing that we are not separate from the universe, but rather that we are expressions of it, natural outgrowths of its laws, inevitable products of its evolution. As you continue to drift, continue to relax, allow your breathing to slow, allow your mind to become quieter. Imagine that you are floating in space, not terrified, but peaceful, knowing that you are safe, knowing that the same forces that have held the galaxy together for billions of years are the forces that sustain you, that hold you, that keep you alive. The Milky Way is a spiral, and spirals are everywhere in nature, in the spiral of a nautilus shell, in the spiral of a galaxy, in the spiral of a hurricane, in the spiral of a whirlwind. Spirals are the shape that nature takes when it is organizing itself, when it is creating structure out of chaos. And within your own body, within your own brain, there are spirals. Spirals of neural connections, spirals of DNA, spirals encoded at every level of your being. And as you think about this, as you contemplate the eternal spiral, allow your consciousness to drift, to expand, to become one with the larger spiral of the galaxy itself. Feel your awareness expanding, spreading outward, encompassing the solar system, encompassing the region of space around Earth, encompassing the entire galaxy, and continuing to expand, until your consciousness is vast, is spacious, is as large as the cosmos itself. And in this state of expanded awareness, in this moment of cosmic consciousness, you are safe, you are held, you are home. The Milky Way is your home. The universe is your home. And you have always belonged here. You will always belong here. And nothing can ever change that fundamental truth. As we draw this journey to a close, as the narrative reaches its natural end, know that you can carry this experience with you, into sleep, into dreams, into wakefulness. Whenever you need to feel connected, whenever you need to feel grounded, whenever you need to feel that deep sense of belonging to something vast and ancient and beautiful, you can return to the galaxy. You can journey around the spiral arms. You can contemplate the cosmic dance, and you will find peace there. You will find stillness there. You will find home there. The stars are always watching. The galaxy is always turning. And you, small as you are an essential part of this cosmic system, a necessary expression of the universe's creativity, a conscious point through which the cosmos knows itself. And this is enough. This is everything. This is more than enough. And so we return now. We return from our journey through the vast expanse of the Milky Way. We return to the present moment, to this place, to your breath, to your heartbeat, to the simple fact of your existence. Let your body be completely relaxed now. Let your mind be at peace. Let your consciousness be calm and still, like a vast cosmic ocean, like space itself, infinite and empty and full of potential all at once. You are drifting now, drifting on the edge of sleep, drifting toward dreams, and as you drift, know that the journey continues. The galaxy continues to turn. The stars continue to shine, and you are home, you are safe. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Rest now in the gentle darkness, in the vast silence, in the eternal presence of the cosmos itself. And know that when you wake, the stars will still be there. The galaxy will still be turning. And the connection you have felt in this journey will remain woven into your consciousness, part of who you are, forever. Sleep well, traveler. Your journey through the Milky Way is complete, but know that you can return whenever you need to. The galaxy is always there, waiting, welcoming you home with open arms, with infinite patience, with the eternal embrace of the cosmos itself. And with that, we fade into silence, into the cosmic night, into the peaceful depths of rest, knowing that somewhere out there, billions of other conscious beings, perhaps, are also looking up at the stars, also wondering, also wondering, also coming home. The spiral continues, eternal, infinite, forever turning. And you are part of it now and always, in this moment and in all moments yet to come. Rest now, drift now, sleep now, in the embrace of the Milky Way, in the arms of your cosmic home, in the peaceful infinite, where all journeys eventually lead, where all travelers finally find their rest,